Alrighty, hello everyone, we're back with more Our Life, Beginnings and Always. I was gonna skip to the next step, but I think we'll do the last free option, and then we'll move on. This game is free to play, and the DLC is paid if you want, like, more little stories between the characters, which I think is neat. So yeah, if you're enjoying this and would like to experience it for yourself, go buy the DLC. In the meantime, let's do fireflies before we move on.
Alright!
Woo! Right there in Atom. Alright, tonight we're gonna catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out from warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was a particularly balmy day. You knew that they were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? I need to start eating faster. We gotta get all that food out of the way so that we can also go. A grin curved your lips as you started to eat a bit faster, excited for what was to come. It seemed like you were too excited, however, as you started to choke and cough your food after shoveling it down so quickly. Uh-oh. Mommy reached over to pat you on the back, firmly helping to dislodge the noodles and enable you to breathe again. You took a big gulp of water from your glass, giving your moms a sheepish look. Oops. That's a good idea. Oh wait, this is Shiloh. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Shizora? Dude, our moms are so hot. I can't get over it. Also, Shiloh, you're here again? Also, thank you for the headbats. Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before a job started. But normally, she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know that she'd be late. You didn't know why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree. Well, it's already dark out there. Lizzie gave your mom her best puppy dog eyes that she could, slowly spooning macaroni and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response. Oh, that's so funny. Also, hello, welcome if you're just joining us.
There.
Oh, let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full. Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill outside our house with all the poppies, okay?
Yeah.
Duh, Mom. That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew that they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth.
Jeez.
No one is gonna die. A knock at the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped from her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking at. Oh my gosh! Don't do that. What if it's a stranger? Pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Uh-oh. You shifted over to your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mommy was already walking to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove, hi, you're here. Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there. It meant that he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing, only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket, eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged, and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know that you're alright. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him. Hi, Cove! Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding his hand up and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Aww. You should come outside with us if you want. Cove, are you gonna catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. Oh my god, Lizzie, why don't you like him? It's probably because he's not like Shiloh, who's all like, oh my gosh, Lizzie! Oh. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore.
Yeah.
I can do that. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies were out. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must have not been anywhere where he used to live. Oh my gosh, some of these sentences are very wordy. Lizzie is a bit of a brat. Also, hi, Perrin! Fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must have not been any where he used to live. We can't go out until after dinner. As she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu of your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. For dinner? Excuse me? The clipped one-word sentence seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. What? Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room. Cove, your dad said that you can stay you could stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's gonna come and get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun! This will be nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed closely after Lizzie. He was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did. Bye, children! The two of them were good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time that you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Moeka! We don't have all night! Oh my god, you little brat. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. No, I'm gonna walk with him. You fell behind, sliding up next to him and matching his stride. He noticed right away. You can go ahead if you want. You smile and shake your head. I don't. After a short while, the two of you reached the hill behind the house. The fireflies were out in full Aww. Cute! The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out, creating an almost magical effect. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle. Wow. Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi guys! It's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. Firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green hair. Shoot the bugs away. Wondering if they're a fighter, No, his arm is just broken. We don't know what happened. I'm gonna giggle along with him. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? Oh look, Lizzie has one! That's amazing! Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed at the group, divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. Wait, I have a bandage on my hand? Oh, we can choose where the bandage is. Or we could not have one. No, I would say usually it's like one of my fingers. I always get like a paper cut or two sometimes. Two bandages. Nah, I'm gonna, even though I feel like it's my index finger that I usually paper cut. We're gonna pretend this is our index finger. We'll be careful not to hurt it. Spotting one close by, you approach it with an assassin's-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself less seen and more or less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You close your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it with his pink cast, it waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Aww. Cove watched it vanish into the thin air, with a dissatisfied expression on his face. Encourage him to try again. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for a moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly over top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna stay still. I'd be like, oh my god, what's happening? If I was this young, I'd be like, what's happening? Whatever. I guess this is happening. You hold still. The last thing you wanted to do was accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked! Yeah, you got one! Cove's lips turned to a slow smile, and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Moeka. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack, performing an awkward low five. Aww. Startled by the extreme motion, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
Oops. No, it's alright. Oh no, we're not gonna cry. No, it's fine. That's okay. I couldn't keep it forever. Right, bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. Well, he wants to. So yeah, let's collect some more. Yeah, we can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With a renewed vigor, you ran onto the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were out in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. Moeka, this way! You follow the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the others. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hand correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. There were a few things that you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success, with the both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out, and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily and his face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Moeka, Cove, get up here! We're gonna have a race! The shouting caught you off guard. It had been a while since you had heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning you with a quick hand gesture. Oh, I thought we were gonna go home. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eyes, you saw Cove was coming as well. You didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi!
Cove.
Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. This was the second time it got in the way of... Aw, no, it's okay. That was the second time today it got in the way of tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see us and see who goes down to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
Yes.
I guess. The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. I want to stay with Cove. I'll stay with Cove.
Really?
Why? You don't have to. It's okay. I want to watch. You made a move beside him on the top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. That's not how races work. You only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to buzz and buzz. You refused to budge and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Oh, dang it. Don't be mad. I'm sorry. Fine, I'll be the winner whether you join or not. Lizzie moved it to lay down and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown! Oh, I hope nothing bad happens. Cove stood up a little straighter. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duty seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at a high speed towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaped forward and watched them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stomped out of the bush she had ended up in, spluttering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad. You got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in. No! You snickered, feeling grateful that you hadn't been a part of this mini debacle. You caught Cove's eyes and saw that he was doing the same. Aww. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel a bit chilly as you made your way to the hills. Or out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked home together, side by side, down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one that caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyways. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's face, aw, faces, you did. Cute! Oh, this is a cute one. Wait, let me save again. Just in case. Okay. And if you're interested in seeing more stories, you can buy the DLC and experience that for yourself. Otherwise, that seems to be all the free routes, which is quite a bit, honestly. For like a free-to-play visual novel, that is quite a bit, because there's even more. But for now, summer's ending, and then summer ended. Yes, to the next step. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, as the five of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. Oh, that was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we were so dull. Let's get out some more. He didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out? 'Cause I know that's not how real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look. She didn't dispute the claim. You looked over to Cove, who hadn't said a word since he started home. He didn't look upset though, just content. You're aware he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. It's almost over. But I would be hungry though. I'm just gonna do my best puppy dog eyes and like see what happens. Oh, don't look at me like that. Like what?
Please.
Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well...
No.
Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
Aw, thanks, Mom. But as soon as dinner is ready, you have to come inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yay! Cove dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You grinned at Cove and nudged his arms with your elbow. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Ooh, or maybe the playground. Or the fireflies that would be coming out, right? I'm gonna make my own plans. Lizzie had her own ideas of what she wanted to do, but what were you gonna do? You glanced over to Cove, considering. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself. Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heels and heading off in the direction of your mother's. She's just going back inside? Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots of plans if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long, she disappeared off down the road. Meanwhile, Cove was going in the opposite direction, heading for the beach. No, I'm not gonna follow my sister. Are you kidding me? Follow Cove. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return. Aw, I'm glad you think it's cool, bro. He made a little gesture that you interpreted as follow me, and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, then tossed it out into the river or the water. I was gonna say, I remember skipping rocks when I went to like the river. The rock sunk kind of like a rock and fell back down. No, that's kind of mean. That was a good toss. It was pretty neat. You can't skip rocks in the ocean. Look, I'm gonna look for my own rock. To find a join cove, you searched for rocks or shells that you could throw too. You found a shell that would suit your purpose, a smile growing as you tossed it as hard as you could. It landed with a wet-sounding thunk a few feet away and slipped down into the water. When you looked over to Cove, he didn't seem to notice that his throw had been more impressive. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
Why? Oh, I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. How'd you get it? I was jet skiing.
What?
I've never gone jet skiing, so it's like, oops, it's like, what the heck? This kid is going jet skiing? What the? Really? Cove narrowed his eyes a little. Yeah, why would I lie? I didn't mean it like that. He then continued to explain. I crashed. He gestured to his arm as if to say this was the result. It's hard to believe that you're allowed to jet ski. I'm not. Oh. Cove let out a huff, flopping down into the sand. Can't believe summer's almost over. He sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school that you and Lizzie are going to. My dad said something about that. Cool! You're gonna like it. Everyone's super nice. You'd only ever been to one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and make new teachers. It would be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew it to his chest. No, don't cry. No. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were
I
wet.
want to go home.
Oh no. You have a new home. You never had to move before, but you thought that you could understand. If you had to go to a new school all of a sudden with all new people, you'd probably be dreading it too. Even though you sort of maybe understood, you still weren't sure how to help. Okay, I'll see you later. Cove gave you a... Oh, no, don't leave him. Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right, he wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far away from here. The one that would bring him... Oh, the one that he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It'd been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. Do you hate it here? Cove's brows furrowed even more. Then he shook his head. He felt a rush of relief fill you. He liked having Cove here. It would be sad if he was miserable the whole time, though. You're not going to leave, right? You'll still be around? The question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that could be fun. Cove smiled, then looked back at the waves. My dad kept saying that I'll get used to everything eventually, that I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. You spared a glance at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. You can remember a long time ago when you'd first started going to school. You had absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day, to listen to strangers tell you what to do, and to sit with kids you'd never met before. Things changing is hard. Oh, I'll make sure you do crying. I'll hold his hand. You're not quite sure what to say to that, so instead you reach out and take hold of Cove's hand, the one closest to you. As you watch Cove's eyes get a little misty once more, you got the feeling that they were different tears than the ones from before, though. I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You will. It will. The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept his place at his new home. You definitely tried to help in ways that you could. There were so many wonderful things here Cove probably hadn't even seen yet. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Time really had gone by fast. You stood up and dusted off your sand off of yourself. Mom's calling, it's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately, okay. Aww, he's gonna come have dinner with us. And he smiled. Cove returned one of his own. Moeka, thanks. It was nice. Where you were right then. I'm gonna cry a little. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. Aww. So the both of you ran towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. Oh, that's a cute little transition. In between. Oh? Wait, what? Oh, do we get to do it again? Oh, no, we have to pick. Okay, interesting. We're still relaxed. Oh, you can't be indifferent. You can't lower affection after it's been raised. Oh. Some of the wording in this game is a bit weird for me. But overall, though, it's still good. Also, Riot, thank you for gifting out a sub. Also, thank you, everyone, for all the follows. Okay. So you can't go from like, oh, I don't like this guy anymore. Okay, interesting. Do I have a crush on him? I feel like I'm just fond of him at the moment. I'm just gonna stick with fond. I'm fond of him. Begin step 2 at relaxed fondness. You won't be able to change it again until step 3. Oh wait, actually, I feel like I can be more direct with him now. Right? Also, hi Riot. Hope you're doing well. Trying to decide. We could have a crush on him. If it's like a type skip. Oh, but I do like the idea though of like not having a crush. Like, I think it's cute when people like in their teenage years realize, oh, I have a crush on this person. So I think I'm gonna start with fond and maybe then we can be like, oh, I like him. I think that'd be cute. I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna be direct with him now, and yeah, I think I like that better. Like now we were relaxed with him before, but now we feel safer, and we feel like we can be direct with him about stuff. Yeah. Customize Cove. Choose to customize Cove yourself, or let his prior experiences determine it. Wait, what? That's crazy. Wait, no, go back. No, I didn't mean to do that. Wait, I wanted to let the game decide based off of our preferences. Hold on, I'm loading. Wait, I'm going back really quickly. Whoops, that was my bad. Oh shoot, I don't remember my choices. Oh, I should have saved. I run into this problem so many times. I never like save often, so this happens. Make my own plans. Followed Cove. Good toss. Gotta look for my own rock. How do you get it? Wait, what was the thing? Oh, skiing. Really?
I want to go home.
You hate it here. Wait, what was the thing? Oh, not going to leave. Of course not. Hold this hand.
Thanks.
Okay, there we go. Woof. Spooked a bit. We're gonna be direct. Fond. Ready. Yes. Okay. Cool. Neither? What does that mean? Wait, I'm gonna save here. There we go. Save it for later. But yeah, what does that mean? Interesting. Both. Oh, like I choose both? Wait, load. Oh, I guess neither means that we don't choose either personality thing. Neither. I'm just gonna let the game decide. I'm very interested. August ended, September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. We weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was alright, but kept his distance from other kids, from what you saw anyway. Whenever he could, Cove stuck to you like glue. He didn't even mind that much of a... Wait, what? Oh, I got an achievement. Neat. He didn't even mind that much what you did to pass the time, as long as it was together. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. Oh, I wonder if when they went jet skiing, his mom let him. Even though it's like, yeah, maybe he shouldn't be doing it at that young of an age. At first you worried that meant bad news. It made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would be living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons though. Aww. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said he didn't want to uproot Cove a second time. Aww. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. He seemed very confident that it was an effective strategy. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. Still, you worried about him. You could tell he wasn't completely happy. Maybe one day he would say it aloud about how he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. Lizzie! The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's gas got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did on tests and in other academic situations. Okay, good. I was like, oh no, are people thinking he's weird or something? Over the years, he began opening up too. You saw him talking amicably with other students or neighbors from time to time. The only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove had come to Sunset Bird. Aww, poor Lizzie. Yeah, she probably took that very hard. It had been really upsetting. When he left, Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. No, don't forget about him. You learned some heartbreaking things, became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. Aww. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still live in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for that word. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted everyone call her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and the shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. Oh my god, this got very real quick. In fact, she hardly spent any time with you the same way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and dad's... Wait. Oh, blah, 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 blah. My brain skipped Cove. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work if Derek had the time for it. Oh, what's the business? Also, thank you for the hydrate. Oh, that does remind me. I need to get another water bottle just for now. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you changed in small and big ways. You had too. As time went by though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then before you knew it, school was over and summer vacation came again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The summer was hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were... snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in. It was hot, but you still had the blankets up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want to intrude on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. Oh my gosh! You're still sleeping? Wow, get up. No, go away. Go away. By the impatient tapping of her foot, you could tell she hadn't left. Get up now, I'll come over there. So much for lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you that your friend's at the door. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him. Say thank you or whatever.
Come on.
So come down already. Okay, fine. Be right there. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. You rolled out of bed, stretching your arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. You saw yourself in front of the mirror in front of the corner of your room. Yeah, it was a big time skip. Because before we were 8 and now we are 13. So it's been a couple years. There's there's a lot of open real estate in the frame. You're pretty short. You had trouble getting your reflection to appear in the mounted mirror frame. You're very short. No, we go with, oh no, I can't even lie. I am pretty short. I'm still in the frame though. You could relate to Derek and how it felt to be smaller than people thought you ought to be. Your shortness seemed to even... Wait, what? Your shortness seemed even more drastic when compared to Cove, who was unusually tall. Oh no. I was kind of I think when I was younger, I was very self-conscious over it. I'm gonna go based off of my feelings when I was younger. So yeah, I definitely was more self-conscious of being short. You couldn't help but feel awkward with the body you had. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to, so this worked in your favor. Your reflection grinned back at you. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, going down the stairs 2 steps at a time. Da 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 da! Step 2, second chance. Second chance for what? You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held the magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at you and greeted, a happy smile on her face.
Thanks.
Good morning, Moeka. Thank you for coming down. Dang, Mom. Mom's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the door, just as she said. Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder. Oh, it is more purple. Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew that she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average for an adult woman, so at your height, you were absolutely tiny in her eyes. I'm gonna let her do it. I don't mind, it's kinda cute. You happily let her do it. That type of small affection exchange was nice. She placed the whole of her hand on top of your head for a second before lifting it back up. Aw, you're the last one down today, you know that? Life isn't a race, Mom. Funny. I don't think that excuse will work if you're late for any other thing. Late for anyone other than your own mother, though. With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove, just as you remembered exactly how you came to know him to be. Dang. Ah, thank you for the head pats. He leaned uncomfortably to the side in the doorway as the longer strands of his hair idly drifted with the breeze. Oh, the flowers are cute. Wait. Oh, is his dad like a fruit arrangement person? Oh, dude, those look so good. His features were pinched in embarrassment and he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must have been the gift. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers. Then you got a good look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. Oh, that's so cute! It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You suppressed a laugh at this showing. You can imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That's not true. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever inevitably was going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly. Aww! And Cove was always roped into participating. Cove smiled at the sight of you. The sting of this goofy errand he was clearly embarrassed about seemed to ease. Hey, Moeka. Oh, I'm crying. You smiled back. It was second nature to you. Cove had always been such a close friend ever since the two of you were kids. Hey, it's nice to see you. Yeah, you too. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. You grinned even more every time you came. Oh, I'm crying. Dude, this is so cute. Every time he came, your mood just brightened. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with plenty of time for the two of you to have fun together. His awkwardness took over the task. Oh my god, I'm crying. No. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gift closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. And with that, the gift was accepted. I hope you and your family like this. It's a pretty good gift. I think so anyway. He smiled earnestly. Oh, so cute. Dad spent a lot of time picking out the best size and design. There are so many options to choose from. You're too cute sometimes. Thank you. To your dad for buying it and for you bringing it over. It looks yummy. I'll tell him you said that. Mr. Holden's behavior was really different from any neighbor you had ever had. Though after 5 years you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. He was sort of funny. He's a little weird. He's kind of handsome to boot though. He is. He is a little weird, but he is handsome and he is nice in the end. I'm crying a little bit. I feel like it would be awkward to be like, yeah, bro, your dad's so hot. He's pretty funny. Sometimes that could be a good thing on I'm so flustered now. Sometimes that could be a good thing, and other times it was a bad thing. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are. You shared a confused look with Cove. As one, both of you stepped through the door. It didn't take long to locate the sound source. You spotted Derek. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. You were happy at the sight of him. Seems like we're pretty good friends with him. I was like, hi, Luna. Derek was certainly a welcome guest in your neighborhood. It was a pleasant surprise whenever he showed up. After stopping a couple streets... Oh, so there are other options? ? After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin. Oh my gosh, I can't. Hey, guy and gal. Oh my gosh! He's a sportsman? Oh, he is short. Compared to Cove, he is short. Oh my gosh. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Oh, he's like a Genki kid. Oh, that's cute. Should have figured you'd be at Moeka's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always there? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was that he was actually laughed at. Derek turned to you. He was gonna say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure, then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This? It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit.
Nice.
Nice! Can I have some? Sure. We can share. Derek grew more excited by your words, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Awesome! Then he nodded his head, as if to clear it. Anyways, that's right, I came here because I need to say something big. He paused, positively for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Ko was surprised, as you were, by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with the family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh, the new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope, I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked, slowly looking over to your long-time neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove, when you first got here anyway. It kinda does, doesn't it? That's weird. He sounded almost fond, a small smile playing on his lips. Derek snickered, good-naturedly. I can see that really well, now that you say so. But what'd you say? Let's go find Cove's look-alike. We should all meet him. I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned, then pointed down the street. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off, with Derek leading the way. Who is this person? Does Cove have a twin? Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors were almost like a beacon underneath the rays of the sun. He scuffled around, kicking up the sand as he paced. It was true. He certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad like you had originally pictured. No, with the erratic movements and the scrunched-up expression, he came off as angry. Why you angry, bro? You were curious about him and what he was so mad about. Derek must have felt the same as you. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey guy, over there! Oh, whoa, he looks very different. The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper onto his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong, hostile energy still radiated from him.
What?
Oh gosh, he is so aggro. What is it? What do you want? The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. Bro, we're just trying to be nice. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it?
No.
Oh, I'm Derek. That's Moeka and Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so you know, it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. What?
My parents.
My parents. They're the ones who brought me. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right.
Right, my dad brought me to Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not bad. That earned a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced. Beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation probably either. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time. A chore. My parents' family is nearby and we just came to see them. Ugh. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
Oh god, he's so aggro. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No. Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff, then turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home, but I'm not allowed to be by myself. Pfft. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid? Yeesh. Who peed in your cereal this morning? Yeah, you don't have to yell so much at us, bro. I'm just gonna keep quiet because I don't want to get yelled at. You had no idea what to say to this, so you stayed silent. Jeremy didn't even notice, too focused on ranting. How do they always make summer vacation worse every year? You turned to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't that similar at all. Jerry must have... Oh no, he heard me. Jerry must have good hearing though, because he caught the cry... Oh no, don't, bro, no, don't. He must have good hearing though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed. Oh, he called me stupid! No! Ugh, of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. Oh, I'm sorry. Cove's cheeks. Aw, Cove. Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. Come on. How can you say that when you have a bowl cut? I'm gonna say it. Screw this kid. How can you say that when you have a bowl cut? Yup, it's embarrassing and awful, but my parents made me. I won't have it when I'm older. I don't know what he's gonna do with those things except maybe shave them off. He probably should. I bet he looks less dumb with no eyebrows. I'm gonna slap the hell out of this kid. We couldn't even roast him. That was my work alarm. I had to check for work. Hold on. Oh, let's see. I do have work, but I still have enough time to finish this up. Wow, this guy is something. I'm just gonna pat Cove on the shoulder. Don't listen to him. Cove gave you a watery look in exchange for the silent support. Trying to talk to the rude boy clearly wasn't going anywhere. Wow, what's wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice.
Wow, what's wrong with you? Wow.
This is dumb. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What a mean kid. Derek wasn't kidding, and by the sound of earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area at least a little while for the summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed and Cove did so too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do. This sucks. I was hoping we could meet someone fun, hang out maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you in a more hopeful expression. But you know what would really improve the day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point, right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. You'd completely forgot about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. You had gotten used to the wait. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed his eyes were eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Why not? Let's eat. Derek perked up immediately at your words, reached out for the skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away. Yeah. He nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without a skewer of your own. Oh, I thought they like took all of the fruit, and I was gonna be like, what the heck? Didn't even leave me one? If it were me, I'd probably take the pineapple, though the strawberry would be a close second. I'm gonna take the pineapple though. The pineapple was cut to look like a flower. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. Oh, this is amazing! It's not much different than other normal fruit. It's kind of worse. These have to be out in the open with their skins out for a while. Sheesh. Hey, you two remember The Land Before Time? The fruit thing makes me think of this. They're dinosaurs all like the leaves that were all shaped like stars. Oh, the 3 stars.
Yeah.
Aww, Land Before Time. That's not a reference I was expecting here. Yeah, chomping leaves look so delicious when they did it. And there's always that scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs coming in and picking everything off of them till there's nothing else. That's us right now. Awesome. I do really like that movie. I love that movie. Me too. The 3 of you continue like this for the next 3 minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Yeah, I don't think we were supposed to eat all of it. Oops. Really? Well, wasn't I supposed to share with my family also? You couldn't stop yourself from sighing at the boys. You just wanted to eat some and have a nice time. Now you were probably gonna get in trouble. You can only accept it though. Hey Moeka. Yeah? The two of you met eyes casually. That was pretty cool what you said back. Oh, dude. That was pretty cool what you said back at that guy. Oh, thanks. I was just saying what I thought. Derek chimed in with high spirits. You totally owned him. I don't know what his parents say, but... Dude, that's so funny. I don't know what his parents say, but it's good at least somebody's around to tell him what's what. Dude, they're fucking hyping. They're gassing me up. Oh, this is so cute. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms, contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. It feels like there's a lot of plans going on. What about you, Cove? Are you ready? Yeah. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered. Hey, Moeka! Uh-oh. You glance over your shoulders to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Mom said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought over for us. Oops. She leered over with your arms, she leered over to you with her arms folded. So, where are they? You're late, it's all gone. What do you mean gone? You oh no, you moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers, dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Oops. Her mouth popped open and the tone of her voice rose. Seriously, Moeka, what were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you, continued mockingly. Even if you did... Oh my gosh, don't do this. Even if you did have an in with the delivery boy, this was up to Mr. Holden. Cove gave a bent smile of support, which didn't help disprove her accusations. I had to be cordial. There was a guest. He wanted some of the fruit. You were hungry? Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all okay with that kind of response. Oh no, I think I hear the mean kid coming back. We better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked confused and looked around. What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. He's just gonna leave me here? Cove hopped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but Sel looked to you from over his shoulder. They're abandoning me! You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. They just left me! Dude, they peaced out. It's legit that dude that's like, peace. And then he disappears. Well, I can't run away. I'm gonna have to stay. I gotta... Yeah, no, I knew this was gonna happen. Please don't be mean to me. I just got ditched by my friends. You didn't make a break for it. Instead, you carefully got up from the sand, bouquet still in hand. Once you straightened up, Elizabeth smiled affectionately over to you. Come on, fugitive. You nodded and then gazed at the empty bouquet. How would you explain what happened? You know, you could tell them those boys did it all. They bailed, so they can't tell the story. Moms would never need to find out. Aww. I do like our sister. Moms would never need to find out. You let me get away with that? She bumped your shoulder, winking cheekily. What else is family for? Oh, crying. So cute. You laughed together, making your way home side by side. When you and Elizabeth had returned earlier with the empty bouquet, Mom was bummed she didn't get anything. Mom consoled her with a promise to make her a fruit flower of her own later. Elizabeth said nothing about how it came to be empty, and the event was dropped without question. You think they were just happy you and your sister seemed to be in a good mood. Aww. That was a while ago now. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. Your fingers drummed up on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. Are we waiting for Mr. Combs' call? You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically, from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your family only sees each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they moved and they were closer to you than ever before, and now you hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she was gonna come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Lizzie, or Elizabeth too, but now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to just be you and Lee who spent time together. Aww. Being family helped make you close, but you had a lot of girlfriends. It seems like we have a lot of guy friends. So, she was the only friend who was a girl. You weren't all that close to any other girls your age. I'm sure we have plenty of other friends, right? We probably just don't hang out with them. Yeah, it's whatever. We have plenty of other friends. They just all happen to not be girls. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Hello?
Hi.
Aw, cute! Hi, Moeka, it's Lee! I'm glad it's you. For a second there, I thought it might be one of Elizabeth's friends. There was a static... Aww. There was static on the end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now that we don't have anything of that boring stuff, we get to hang out whenever we want. Oh, speaking of hanging out... Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head to my room. Oh, yeah. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about cords tying you down. Your mom set a rule about not moving the phone unless call was in progress, which is why you sat... Aw, that's kind of cute. Which is why you sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. No, that makes sense. No, that completely makes sense. It was nice to keep everything in its proper place. But now that Lee had called, it was okay to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You jogged up to the stairs, taking 2 at a time, smiling. Aww. After you arrived, you shut your bedroom door firmly behind you. Alright, I'm here.
Cool.
Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone! She doesn't have to wait for anybody to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? Oh, so that's when this is set. I remember these times. Oh my gosh, that was a big deal back then. Because the cell phones are really expensive. The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Right, I wish I had one too, but my parents said I can't get one until I'm more grown up. I wish they changed their minds. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Yeah, I would still have to use my own home phone though. That's really great. We could even stay up talking late at night. Lee sighed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they say I can have one someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way into college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulders and ear, you puffed up the pillows and made yourself more comfortable. It was strange to think of a time when school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to college. School was such a big part of your life right now. I feel like when I was going to school, everything came by pretty easily. It wasn't too difficult. It wasn't until I got older though that it got harder. Everything in your school came easily, or in your classes came easily to you. You soaked up information as naturally as a sponge absorbed water. You had yet to worry about school being hard for you. I did feel a lot of pressure though to maintain like high grades, even though it wasn't like a necessary requirement from my caretakers. Yeah, I felt a lot of pressure to maintain the high grades. Your future depended on it. Yeah. Try to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled. You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. It's not too scary to think about it. No matter how much you wanted to enjoy your free time, the creeping dread of knowing that it would come to an end was always there besides you. I get what you mean. Though I guess school isn't always that bad. You can do good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Learning new things can be cool. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, just not some people. Oh no, bye plastic. That's such a weird way to word this though.
Me too.
Me too. cafeteria lunches at my school could be better. I did not like gym. It's the easiest ways to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. That is also true, probably. But that's all. And that's pretty much everything that's good about school. Point taken. Oh no. I should have said the other things. Now, I decree the topic of school to be officially closed. We have to talk about this summer first before starting plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Like, I'm gonna visit my cousins. We chuckled, of course. What's something you wanna do? The first thing that comes to your head. Eating. Oh, it's not an option. I never had conversations in gym. Same. It would, like, my school is very, like, we will do this activity. So I just did the activity. I guess reading would be my second choice. Let me know if you read anything good, unless it's scary or sad. Sure. You lean back into your bed, settling in, and continue chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like at your neighborhood? His parents were visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? He was mean. Kind of interesting. He was he was mean. He kept snapping when we were just trying to talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away? You want a boy to stay away even before meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Who are you to talk? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know. That's true, but they're my friends. They're not always around. Lee laughed at your denial, deeply amused. After a moment, you chuckled along with her. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face. The little adventure from earlier hadn't gotten you any goodwill this time, it seemed. How long are you gonna hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Dang, okay. Sorry for being long. Lee, I have to go now. See ya! Tell Elizabeth and your mom I said hi too. You'd barely pressed the end call when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone's phone. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anybody seen the phone? I'm using it! With that, she shut her door behind you. Oh my gosh, Elizabeth! Silence was left in your wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gone dark outside and you laid in bed, wide awake. Dang. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over to it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you only saw the moon and an open sky. You were curious. Who is that? What had caused that noise? Cocking your head to the side, you opened up and moved closer to the window. You wanted to get to the bottom of this. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yup, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular and some parts stuck out further than others, so it was theoretically easy and it wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could didn't mean you expected them to do it. Cove looked awkwardly and unstable. Oh my gosh, get off of there then! His feet were braced against a section of the wall that just jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep himself uptight. Or upright. Oh my gosh! Oh my god, open the window. With difficulty, he waved, then he wobbled, immediately dropping his arms in alarm. Oh my gosh, what are you doing? He hurriedly opened the window. Why didn't you just come through the front door? Cove scrambled inside, nearly falling flat on his face, but he was able to right himself in the end. What are you doing? He released a breath once he was steady. Hi, Moeka. Oh my god, what are you doing in my bed? Dude, my door is closed. My moms are gonna be here any second. Oh my god, I'm gonna get in trouble. Oh shoot. This is a surprise, but you're always welcome. Amazing, my dreams have come true. That's funny. No, I'd probably be like, what's up, Romeo? I need to talk to you and couldn't wait until tomorrow. Oh? If I rang the doorbell, I knew your moms would have answered, and then they would make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyways. I didn't want to talk about it. Bro, what? Why would my mom send him away? Like, why can't, like, I feel like they would have been like, oh, you want to say hi? Sure. What? Cove. Well, besides you, I mean. But that's why I did that. It was as unexpected as this was. You were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove's only looked very cross. Dad was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. Oh, uh-oh. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation. You shouldn't do that. I'm just not gonna comment on it. It's not my place. Didn't comment. There were other things to talk about. Are you gonna stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving, you missed seeing him those weeks. You understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said he could. He said that she could come stay with us here. You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. Oh no, his mom was probably like, no, why the hell would I do that? You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. Is she gonna do that? Yeah. Oh! She told him she'd come. I know that she's coming soon before school starts. Oh. He had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about the past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon, you were gonna see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features pained with dread. Why is he... I can't get a read on if the mom is, like, happy to be involved, or if she just, like, doesn't want to be a part of his life, but feels kind of forced to by the dad. Before, they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're gonna be all together again, the three of us, after all this time, just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy that they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out, and now I feel really bad for feeling this way. Moeka, it's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. Oh no, don't cry. It shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already, and I'm not a little kid. Though he hadn't met your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. We can deal with this together. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. This is something that's hard to deal with. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks, that makes me feel a little better, like I'm not freaking out for no reason. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude, and as if it all wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. That is a bit weird. That is a weird situation. She might be, I mean, his dad's pretty hot, so I could see his mom being hot also. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Moeka? The sound of your name, said quietly, pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned.
You okay?
Oh, yeah, bro, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. You knew some things were still good. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. He had come here conflicted and upset, only to end up worrying about you. He really was a great friend. You know, I think I don't want to talk about this anymore. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kinda don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could he possibly turn him away? Aww, but I am kind of like sneaking him in here. I don't know how well my moms would take that. Of course, you can always stay here, Cove. As if he even had to ask. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. I was gonna say, it'd be weird to be like, no, we shouldn't make a habit of this. Like, we're not doing anything wrong. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad that he was here. It's not just tonight. You were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. It felt natural to let him into your little world. That initial friendship had deepened so much over the past few years, and you were certain that there was room to get even closer. Oh, whoa, that's very close. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time was half-hearted. Wait, why? He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. I'm gonna take, you know, it seems like holding hands is like our comfort thing, so I'm just gonna keep doing that. Oh, I could see myself nudging him with my foot though. No, I'm gonna keep the hand is gonna be a theme, a reoccurring, ongoing theme. You stretched out your short arm. Why did they have to specify that our arm was short? You stretched out your short arm and gently held his hand. It wasn't much, but you hoped that the contact helped even a little. Cove blinked, startled, before expression softened into something more natural. Conversation stilled and broke often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would part ways, and you know Cove felt the same. Aww. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your olive skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together, trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up for a little longer. Aww. Until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He's still here! Oh my gosh! Cove! You gotta go, buddy! He never left. He was still there in the morning. Oh, dude, our sister's gonna come in and gonna freaking snitch on us. I wouldn't jump out of my own bed. I think I'd just freeze. Cove? Bro! I'm just gonna be frozen. He's sleeping. Your muscles refused to move an inch and your eyes widened as you stared at Cove's sleeping form in absolute shock. If your moms found out you had slept here the entire night, you would both be in big trouble. Realizing quickly that you needed to get Cove out of here before your moms or Elizabeth walked in and found him, you willed your body to get a move on and swung your legs over the side of the bed. Whisper in his ear? Oh, bro, wake up. I'd poke him in the face. His cheeks felt... Oh my god, I'm dying. This visual novel's very cute. His cheeks felt soft when you prodded it with your finger. You instinctively pulled your hand back when his eyes flew open and he awoke with a start. He scrambled out of the way as he abruptly jumped to his feet before almost losing his balance and falling back down. He recovered just as quickly and faced you indignantly. What was that for? Bro, you fell asleep here. You were supposed to go home. His dad's probably freaking out. Shh. What? Situation dawned on him too before he even finished the word. Cove blinked a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic. Oh no, as some thought that he could only hear settled in his mind. Oh my god, I fell asleep. You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove stopped mid-step and you wanted to ask, oh no, and wanted to ask what he had been searching for, but you guessed he wouldn't know the answer to that himself. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. It'll be alright. You just need to leave before anybody notices you're here. If they knew, we wouldn't hear about it. Oh, we wouldn't hear the end of it, bro. Cove nodded and his shoulders tensed as he fixed you with a firm stare. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran his hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this had played out, but hoped that was true. Yeah, see you later, Cove. At that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. What? As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Aw, that's so cute! Thanks again. You're a good friend, Moeka. Oh, I'm glad. He firmly whispered the words, aw, into the top of your shoulders. Oh my god, this is getting so intimate. Excuse me. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with a salty scent. Cove anxiously stepped out of the ledge. Maybe you should go out the front door. I don't want you to get hurt. Maybe you should go out the front door. Going out the window might not be the best idea. You thought of him getting hurt or even worse than, the thought of him getting hurt was worse than him being caught. You don't have to go out that way. I can cover for you if you use the door. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other, until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as you could to keep a watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down the top of the garage, then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped down to the ground. He threw out a thumbs up in his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit that you were pretty impressed with how doable he had made it seem. With a little sigh, you reclose your window, deciding that there was nothing left that you could do. You hopped off your bed and headed to the kitchen downstairs. Oh my gosh. Stressful. Put my slippers on. You knew it was summer, but your slippers were comfy and cozy, and they made you feel better whenever you wore them. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face to look to look innocent. You were sure there was somebody that would come into the room if you had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. Oh no, do you think Elizabeth came and checked our room before? Oh man, I hope not. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping your finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked over immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting. Why are you being so weird? I'm just saying good morning, what the heck? You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. Your eyes flickered left and right to the side. Oh god, I'm flustered. Your eyes flickered left and right as you sidestepped her and headed towards the kitchen. Moeka? Wouldn't you like to know? I would, that's why I asked. Oh, oops, no. You shrugged non-committally, determined not to tell her a thing. Further suspicion, squinting occurred as she waited for something, but ultimately she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most of her days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the door or the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast had been eaten. Your moms were both out by the time you'd gotten up. They had left you a serving of food for breakfast. Hash browns and oatmeal, or an omelet, fruit, and a few sausage links. Nice. I'm gonna pass on the sausage links. I'm not a huge fan. I'm gonna pass on some parts because I was a picky eater when I was younger. You appreciated that there was a variety in your meals. The parts that you did have were tasty. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment, before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was perfect. Aww. It was a perfect balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors to find something to do. You had decided that something was just... Wait, what? You hadn't decided just yet what you were gonna do. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left the morning, and couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now or call him to check in? You stepped out of your house, still stuck in the internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention. Hi, Moeka. Oh? What's that? Confused, you looked over. How do you know my name? If I don't know her. Confused, you looked over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory, but nothing came to mind. Not your school or from your country club that your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who that woman was. The woman crossed Oh boy, I need some water. Oh boy, I'll let this linger, but I'm gonna go grab some water really quickly. Alright, I'm back. Also, thank you for the hydrate. Very, very much needed. Ah, yummy. Okay. Move that over there. Welcome back. Thank you, thank you. Okay, back to this mysterious woman. Also, hello if you're just joining us. Welcome. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into your house and lock the door. Oh my gosh, she is quite the character. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? Is that Ko's mom? Oh. I see. I see. You shook your head and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex, too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point to the condo across the street from your own house. She was Kove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner, now that you'd gotten a good look at her. She seemed nice. She is super pretty. But she seems nice. She was super pretty. This beautiful lady was Ko's mother? Wow. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Kove mentioned that she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kira Priest. You can call me Kira. Kyra? Kira? Not quite sure. We're just gonna say Kira. You can call me Kira. I like her bracelets. Oh, the star one's cute. Oh, the other one's very cute too with the ribbon. Well, I can't be rude. It's his mom. I'm gonna shake her hand. You reached out and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm Moeka, but you already know that. Kove mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you, Moeka. Kove talked to you about... Aww, Kove talks about me. Kove talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. Nice to meet you too. She smiled at you fondly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. There's the sound of the door. Oh no, please don't freak out. Is he gonna be freaked out? Be like, Mom, why are you talking to my girl? What the heck? The sound of the door opening and closing caught both your attention, and when you turned towards the sound, it was Kove exiting the house. Considering just how tall he had grown, you kind of figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the shorter side for an adult anyways. Kove's height must come from his father. There you are. I thought you were going to keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Kove's eyes as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. Why are you acting weird, bro? When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After that, What? You're acting so differently. After the way he had acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Kove and I were heading to town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. Bro, I know he's your ex, but like, I don't know. Kind of rude. Snore? Bro, that's so mean. That's kind of mean. Just because you don't like him anymore. Like, what the heck? Kove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. Kira beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, Moeka. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. Wow, he really wants me to go. There was pleading in his tone that you couldn't miss. Of course, we'll run it by your parents first. Responsibility and all that. It'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on this street for the time being. Anywhoosies, let's go. Kira walked ahead towards your house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her. I'm sorry about her, but I do really want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us, not right now. Oh, maybe I always got the feeling that he didn't really enjoy his visits to his mom's. So I'm very curious now about it. That's okay, I'll come along. You leaned in closer and whispered, while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know that you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed heavily. Dad's so focused on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard them on the phone last night that it was something that they were planning for the future. This morning, Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's gonna be here all summer. Oh, you were surprised to hear that too. Cove sighed again, even heavier. I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing a little in relief. Aww, thanks, that'd be cool. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom was. She was knocking on the front door of your house. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of her. You realized that, like you, she had no idea who Cove's mom was. However, after blinking at the woman a couple times and looking between her and Cove, she realized the realization seemed to strike her. Hello there, I'm Pamela. Oh, Pamela. Why did you say it like that? Little sussy, Mom. I see you've met my kid Moeka. I'm guessing you've already known Cove for a while. Kira laughed, and you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. That's a little sus. Stay away from my mother. I'm Kira Priest, Cove's mom. It's so nice to meet you. I don't like this anymore. I would like for you to leave. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eyes as Mom popped up behind, Mom squeezing herself in beside her. We have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was. She grinned excitedly at Kira. The two of them introduced themselves and shook hands. Hi, Moeka. Cove. Cove smiled at Ma shyly, and she gestured a hand towards the living room. There's no use hanging around in the doorway. Why don't you come in? Oh, I'd love to, but I'd promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up. Oh, I understand. You're welcome to stop by anytime. I'll take you up on that offer when I can. Count me in. No! No! You're not allowed in my house! Would you mind too much if Moeka went with Cove and I? My treat. We won't be driving, just a quick walk down the road. Sure, that sounds nice. Aw, thanks, Ma. You gave your moms a look and they smiled at you fondly. Happy that they're letting me go. Cove's my buddy, you know, I gotta make sure he's okay. You could tell that Cove really needed the support and you were ready to be there for him. Expect us to be back in an hour or two. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care. I'm a little scared. I hope that nothing bad happens. Imagine if Cove's mom broke up my parents. I would cry. Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you went back onto the street. There was a sound of the front door closing behind you. I'm pretty positive I saw some restaurants when I was in the taxi not too far from here. Yeah, it's a tourist town, isn't it? There's a lot of them around. It was kind of strange to see Cove give someone this much attitude. If he wasn't in the mood to be nice, he generally just kept to himself. Kira put her hands on her hips and smiled at her son. Well, you sound exactly like an area expert. Do you have any recommendations for a place nearby? Not really. Kira pouted at him a little and turned to you instead. How about you, Moeka? Want to point me in the right direction? Sure, I have a couple favorites. You'd been to a lot of places in town, and there were a couple that stood out from the rest of them. There's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorites. No, don't tell her about mom's favorite. She's gonna use it to her advantage. Or hear me out. 3 moms. I don't know. I'd be a little awkward because it would be my potential future husband, boyfriend, question marks, mom. So it's just a bit weird. Nah, it'd be too weird for me. There's also a tropical themed place that tries to be sort of fancy. Will sound like a treat. I'll leave it up to you to pick for us since Cove is going through a phase over there. He huffed at her and turned his face away. Aww. Since it's gonna be on her, we're gonna go to the tropical themed place. The tropical themed place. You're welcome. Will you show us the way? Sure. Taking the lead of your little group as Cove... You nodded, taking the lead of your little group as Cove and his mom followed behind you. Together, the 3 of you left the neighborhood behind. The walk was about 15 minutes, and along the way, Kira asked a lot of questions about the area. Cove was quiet for most of the time, so you ended up answering for her instead. Kira explained that she lived in a large city, and that she loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed in Sunset Bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were shown right to a small table. Oh, this place is pretty! Kira lowered herself into the chair, while Cove picked up one of the diagonal chairs from her, not facing her or to her side. It was awkward. Cove, why are you being like this? Ahem, let's see. To start, what would you like to drink? I'll get an orange soda. Moeka? It would depend on what... Is this lunchtime? Because it would depend. Because if it was like a 3 p.m. lunch, I would probably do the soda. But if it's the morning, I'd probably get coffee. I'm gonna get coffee. Kira gave you a raised eyebrow, but then smiled. Iced or hot? There's sugar on the table if you want to add that. But do you want cream with that? Hot with cream. Sure. Kira placed the order for your drinks, getting black coffee for herself, and it didn't take long before they brought the things to the table and set it in front of you. You take a long sip of your drink as you look around the restaurant. Your small group checked over the menus, deciding what to order. Quick water sip. The last time that you came here, the dish you ordered was amazing. You want to order something different this time. Kira and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Soon the meals too were ordered and the menus taken away. You glanced at the table surface, waiting to figure out what to say. Cove sunk further into his seat and avoided eye contact. He started to twiddle his thumbs while acting like it was perfectly normal. His sour mood feeling today was unignorable. Instead of asking more open questions, he'd brush off Kira had mercy on her son and instead put her focus towards you. Oh, this is awkward. So, Moeka, what's a few things that you're into? There's gotta be something you do for fun, especially now that you're not buried into school assignments. I'm really into Cove. Oh, that's one of the options. I'm in the way. I'm sorry, everyone. Oops. I'm trying to move myself. It's a bit difficult. There we go. See, I'm really into Cove. That's a lot of options. I like music. Type in your own instrument to play. They don't have singing? That's a type of music. I like music. Please don't capitalize or pluralize the word. Example, clarinet. Singing. Oh, I play the singing? Aw, dang it. Specifically, how do I go back? And... Oh, I can pick different stuff. Oh, why not? Why do people always do this? This is like a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when music is an option, but they never include singing as a thing. I'm like, what the heck? Singing is a type of music. Makes me a little mad. You're now an Asian American parent. I like listening to a lot of it. I have an MP3 player at home that my mom helped me put some music on. I've seen some concerts. Oh, awesome. And games. I like to play video games. I don't know much about them. Maybe you could show me sometime. And I like to read manga. I like all types of stuff, not just manga. But I don't get to pick manga as an option too often, so I like to read manga too. I haven't heard of that style. I'm sure it's very good. Some of it is, yeah. And I spend some time on art sometimes, like drawing. I filled out a lot of sketchbooks. Dang, she didn't even say anything about that? Damn. I hang out with people. Hey, it's nice to have friends and family to spend time with. Okay, I'm done. I'm happy to learn more about you. There's so much I hadn't heard. Cove leaves out all the details. So how exactly did Cove... What exactly did Cove say about me, you know? Kira laughed, holding out a hand in front of her face, or mouth. I can't tell you that. I didn't come all this way to embarrass my son. Too much. Kids are delicate at this age. She laughed again. Aww. She laughed again and he glanced at Cove to see his reaction. He was trying not to pay attention, but you could tell he was uncomfortable. Aww. Damn. Yeah, she really is trying to lead me into talking about Cove. Kind of weird. Hoping it would clear some of the tension in the air, you decided to ask Kira a few questions of your own. Cove hadn't said much about her, so you're curious to know more about her. What exactly do you do for work? I'm a travel writer for magazines and things. I keep people in a loop on what's worth seeing. It's good work. Oh wow, she's an influencer. Oh, this would be a weird. Why did you divorce your husband? Are you in a relationship? That'd be kind of weird. What do you like to do? Spend time with my little boy, of course, and traveling. A real shock, huh? Where do you normally live? Nevada. Have you ever been there? Shook your head. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you can. Alright, I think I'm done. I'm not gonna ask those other 2 questions. I think it's a bit weird. No, even at 13, like, I knew those kinds of questions were very sensitive and awkward. Unless it's like a family member that you're close with, and it's just like, oh, are you like in a relationship, blah, 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 whatever. But for somebody like a stranger you're just meeting, that like even I knew that was weird. I can't bring myself to ask another question. It didn't seem to bother her that the conversation dropped. Cove sipped on his soda angrily, slurping up the remaining drinks with furrowed brows. He looked ready to run straight out of the restaurant. You really you know what? The more I think about it, if Cove wasn't here, I wouldn't feel afraid to ask, but because he is here, I would be especially more self-conscious. You weren't really sure if coming along had ended up making the lunch better or worse. I'm just gonna, just smile at him. Otherwise, I would throw his straw wrapper at him. Just gonna smile at him. Cove eventually noticed you were watching him. It took a couple moments, but finally he cracked a smile, and that made you feel a little lighter inside. Aw, you two seem really cute together. Cove covered his face with his hand and leaned back into his seat.
Seriously?
Ugh, Mom, why would you say that? You felt bothered too. No, thanks. We are cute. If this happened, I think if I had a guaranteed crush on him at this age, I would definitely have blushed. But if I was unsure, I think I would just laugh it off and be like, thanks. My first instinct was to be like, oh, thanks, we are cute. Oh, very. Your meals were delivered shortly after that, and everything was delicious. Even Cove enjoyed his food. Alright, now that we're full and content, can we explain why you've had a bug up your bug? Why you've had a bug up your butt all day? Mom! Oh my gosh. Cove's face scrunched up. Seriously, baby, what did Mom do to make you this mad? I haven't even been around a full day yet. You gripped the edge of the table, refusing to make eye contact. The words he spoke were barely audible over the din of the restaurant. You could have told me. She leaned forward. Oh no. She leaned forward to not miss anything else, eyebrows raised. Told you what? Finally seemed to find his voice and spoke the thoughts that he had been... Oh no. Spoke the thoughts that had been on his mind. That I wasn't gonna visit you this year. That you were gonna be coming instead. Didn't you invite me? You wanted me to be here with you? Cove's eyes began to shake and his frustration ebbed. I do want you to be around, but I didn't know it'd be like this. It's not the same, and nobody said anything. Uh-oh. Her expression grew tense. She threaded her fingers together and placed her hands in front of her. Uh-oh. Why is she looking mad? We've both been gifted another Clifford surprise. Clifford? Excuse me? Oh, wait. I guess we've never known... Oh, I guess we do just call him Mr. Holden most of the time. Clifford Holden? That's a weird name. Referring to that as Clifford's surprise almost caused both you and Cove to crack a smile. You also had no idea his name wasn't just Cliff. Over 5 years, nobody had ever called him Clifford until now. She smoothed out her hair, not letting go of her stern look. The more things change, the more they stay the same. They let out identical sighs, but smiled weakly at one another.
I'm sorry.
I can go home, Cove. You can still set up a normal trip to my place before the summer ends. Cove's lips tightly closed together. He seriously pondered the option. I think I do want you to stay. I miss it when you're not there. Oh, my heart. She reached across the gap and grabbed his face and planted a kiss on his cheek. Cove tried to wiggle away. Mom, stop! Oh, I'm sorry. Sweet young men need to be smooched by their parents. If I don't, they'll take away my mom license. Kira was completely enthused by Cove's admission, though a tone of seriousness did return to her voice when the conversation continued. Do you want to talk to your dad too? Oh, okay. Cove had snapped the word instantly, but reeled his annoyance back just as quickly. Maybe later, not today. I understand, we can shelve it. Thanks, Mom. Thank you for talking to me, my little mister. What? Little mister? That's such a weird nickname. Huh? She grinned affectionately at him before turning to you. And thank you, Moeka. Huh? What did I do? It's easy to act like a baby with your mom. It's harder to keep that up with your neighbor watching everything. Especially when you really care about what that said neighbor thinks of you. She winked! Mom! She just ruffled his hair with a laugh, then moved her hand down to tap the end of his nose. And that was how the issue was resolved, at least between Cove and his mom. Oh. When the three of you left the restaurant and Kira had paid the bill, you walked back to your neighborhood slowly. You had eaten so much by that time that you were beginning to feel sleepy. It didn't help that the lunch had happened late and the sun had already begun to descend from the sky. Oh wow, his hair grew out. Eventually you reached your street. Someone was there to greet you upon arrival. Welcome back, family, and Moeka too. Cliff. Dad. Dang, mom and son are very, very similar. The two of you walked past him into the condo without sparing another word. Despite the summer heat, their shoulders were cold. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. He rubbed the back of his neck in a crooked smile. Oh, with a crooked smile, but his eyes were soft as he looked after them. He's so much like his mom, don't you think? You gave a vague nod, not sure what he was expecting you to do. He nodded back, far more energetically. Okay, have a nice night, Moeka. You too, Mr. Holden. With that, Cove's dad disappeared to join the others inside. It was your turn to go home now. Summer hadn't started off at all how you had imagined it would have, though it turned out to set the tone well. Having Kira in the neighborhood was a new experience for not only you and Cove, but both of your families. A dull moment was rarely had. Oh, okay. That was kind of a long, intro, you know? This one is... we are at 2 hours already. We can do one of these steps. Let's step stories. Sheesh. Soiree. Escapade? That sounds so scandalous. Wait, a road trip? Like his mom takes us on a road trip? We'll do one road trip. Even though you were awake, the sun had barely peeked its head above the horizon and the sky was still dark, though lightning by the minute. Usually you wouldn't be up so early, especially during summer vacation, but today was different. Today, instead of the lazy days that you were used to, everything around you was a flurry of activity as both your family and Co was prepared for what lay ahead. Because parked in the street just outside your house was a massive RV camper, so big you couldn't even see Co's house built behind it. Oh. His parents had rented the RV for a few days to take him on a short road trip to see the Redwood National Park. You glanced at Cove, who was standing nearby, taking in the scene in front of him. The prospect of the trip had been a mixed bag for him, but it was only 3 days, so it seemed like he was dealing with it as best as he could, especially now that you and your family were joining them. You weren't sure how exactly it had happened. You knew your parents and Co spoke to each other often, and somewhere along the way, the plan were made for Cliff to have you join. The parents all thought it was a fantastic idea. You had already gotten a good look inside while helping to load everything in, and you had to admit, while it was a really big car, fitting that many people inside was going to be snug.
Let's go.
Move it or lose it, kiddo. Mum bustled past with a cooler in one hand and a large bottle of water under the other. She was super upbeat for this early in the morning. Whoa, mama. Ma, however, seemed to be on the other side of the wavelength. She followed behind her wife, dragging her feet on every step. That would be me for sure. I'd be like, this is too early in the morning. I'm gonna need a whole jug of coffee once we hit the road. Yeah, I could relate to Ma. Like, seriously. I'm excited, but man, I'm tired. You yawned and rubbed your eyes, still sleepy from the early morning wake-up call. The air outside was still damp from the dew, and it helped to make you be a bit more alert. Oh, my sister, right. And then at the end of the chain came your sister. She had a bone to pick before the trip officially started. Her rattling off critiques added some level of normalcy to everything new going on. I don't get why I can't sleep in the bed tonight. Moeka's the youngest, and I'll never fall asleep in that loft. We're trying to make things fair on everyone. If you want to play its older card, you should be offering to take the loft for both nights. It's important for siblings to make sacrifices for their younger ones. Elizabeth huffed, not happy with the answer in the slightest, and folded her arms, leaning against the side of the RV. The trip plans had been nailed down prior, the sleeping arrangements included. Elizabeth still held on to her objections with them. There was a main area of the RV with a couch, loft, and some floor space. At the end of the car was a room with a large bed. Your moms were sharing the bed, Kira on the couch, and father and son intended to sleep on the floor. Aw, what gentlemen! The adults seemed determined that you and Elizabeth would switch between the small loft above the driver's seat and sharing the beds with moms. I thought it was unfair that Cove had to sleep on the floor. I know he's a guy, but he is like young. I thought it was unfair that Cove had to sleep on the floor. After all, it was supposed to be a trip for him and his family before yours ended up coming along too. Now he had been kicked out of every bed-like space and put on the floor. There had to be another way to organize things, so it was better for him. we could share the loft together. I don't know if our parents would be down for that though. I know my parents would not be. Yeah, caretakers would not be happy with that. They'd be like, And I wouldn't want to like make him feel like he'd have to take this option. Oh my god, Riot really wants option 2 though. Fine, we'll take a shot. Suggest sharing the loft with Cove. Cove and I could share the loft when I'm up there. I don't mind making room for him. Took a glance over to Cove. It would be fun to have a little sleepover, just the two of you. No, that loft is too tiny for 2 people, even if those people are teens. The last thing we need is one of you rolling off and crushing poor Cliff beneath you. Who will take over his driving shifts? The 3 other parents all laughed at your mom's joke. Haha, funny mom. Cove simply shrugged with a relaxed smile, and you sighed as you were forced to admit defeat. Alright, you lot, does everyone have everything they need? We're heading out in 5 minutes. Now's the time to double check. You don't want to forget something important. At the word, Elizabeth yelped and dashed back into the house, her bedhead hair bouncing behind her as she went. Ma came over and gave you a smile, setting her hands on her hips. How about you, Moeka? Do you have all your clothes packed? Toiletries, deodorant, floss? Anything else that you can think of? I'm not sure about that. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I can't remember what. Ma chuckled and gave you a squeeze on the shoulder. I get like that on trips too, so I've learned to pack extra in case I or anyone else forgets. With the amount of supplies we've stuffed into the RV, I think we'll be okay. It's only a few days after all. Thanks, Ma. Aww. With a few minutes left to spare before leaving, you mentally went over what you had to pack for the trip. Clothes, a pillow, blanket, your usual day-to-day gear for most people. You also had more personal things, such as my portable gaming device. I feel like for trips, I always forgot like a gaming thing or two. The drive to the Redwood National Park would take an entire day one way, so that you had to make sure that you were entertaining yourself while traveling there and back. My MP3 player with headphones. There's so much time going, blah blah blah. Make sure that you had music. Couple of things to read. You had packed one of your favorites and a new one, so that you packed one of your favorite reads and a new one that you had never tried before. You knew that you'd have plenty of time on the trip. My makeup, just in case, you never know. You kind of dreaded the idea of trying to apply it nicely while in a cramped RV, but it's something to do. And my camera. It was just a little pocket camera you had gotten from your mom's, but you couldn't miss the opportunity to make a few snaps. Okay, that's everything. Hey, let me take that for you, Moeka. I'll stow in the RV. There's a few spots left. Okay. You let Kira take your bag, and you gave her a grateful smile. With nothing left to do, you watched the others get ready. Oh. Also, hello, welcome, if you're just joining us. Kira and Cliff seemed to have the most energy of anyone. They were finishing packing the suitcases away while your moms had gone to lock up the house. They high-fived whenever another one got crammed into the storage compartment of the vehicle. Aw, I'm so curious about the relationship between Kira and Cliff. They just seem very free-spirited. Even though your parents were more low-key than Cove's, you could tell that they were both excited for the trip. It had been a while since your family had been had been anywhere. Elizabeth skipped towards the RV, a bag slung over her shoulder, and you were surprised to see that she was more optimistic about the whole ordeal now. Usually she wasn't one to exit the confines of her room unless it was for TV or food or to leave her family behind to be with friends. You would have thought 3 whole days packed in an RV with 6 other people would be too much for her, but it was a nice surprise. You suppose any vacation was better than no vacation in her mind. Cove had been pretty quiet so far, and more than anything, seemed to be overwhelmed by the situation. Aww. I'm excited for the trip. It was a great way to get away and explore new places. Soon the miscellaneous remaining tasks had been all wrapped up. Dang, this is a nice RV. Everyone piled into the RV. It was officially time for the trip to start. And it did. Cliff took the first driving shift. He cautiously navigated the massive car out of the narrow neighborhood streets. It was touch and go for the first part of the journey. Your moms and Kira were all huddled at the front, trying to get a view of how much space they had on each side. There was a sense of relief when the first long leg of the trip was hit, and the RV would only need to go down one stretch of highway for miles. Trying to look at the background. Oh, if it weren't for the oh wait, you can't see my mouse. Good. If it weren't for like this little weird back section here, I think you'd be able to lean these seats back, and I'm like, you can kind of make that into like a sleeping bed. I don't know. You felt like you could finally relax now too. Time slipped by as morning faded away. Before you realized it, the engine of the RV came to a stop, but only halted for a few moments as Cliff climbed out of the driver's seat and Mom took over. Ma was sitting shotgun, giving Mom a quick tutorial on the controls, as it was her first time driving anything this large. Cliff groaned as he headed towards the rest of you, stretching his arms above his head and loosening up his muscles. We're making good progress. Yeah, maybe you should take a nap in the back for a while. That was a long haul you just did. I know you're on less sleep than usual. Aww, Cliff waved a hand, that trademark grin of his slipping into place. I don't need to sleep. I've got a few miles in the old tank. Go to bed. Go take that nap, sir. He flexed his arm, showing his muscles to drive the point of how resilient he was home. That's a weird sentence to me, but okay. And Kira rolled her eyes in amusement. Dad, everybody has to sleep. Cove shook his head at the tough guy act, though Cliff simply chuckled and ruffled his son's hair.
So?
Are you gonna be driving again anytime soon, Mr. Holden? I wanna know so I can prepare. Did anyone pack some rope? I might need it. There's no seatbelts up here. Oh shoot, Elizabeth. Elizabeth came down from where she was lounging in the loft above the driving compartment. She was laying on her back, her hair falling off the side and swinging around as the RV started up again and took off down the road. Oh my goodness. A bag of potato chips were balanced on Elizabeth's stomach, and she tossed a couple in her mouth as Cliff held a hand to his chest, pretending to be offended by the remark. Kira laughed lightheartedly. Lucky for you, all of us have enough adults to cover the shifts today. You won't be driving again until tomorrow. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna stay quiet. I don't want to make fun of him. I'm gonna just shake my head, actually. Shake my head. You didn't have anything to add to the conversation, but it wasn't very funny. Mom then shouted back in her seat to join in the conversation, playfully smiling. What I'm more worried about is this old monster getting us there and back again before falling apart. Oh my gosh. What? It looks as though it was built in the early 90s. It must be older than some of the occupants. That's just the aesthetic of the decor. It's not that old, I think. Did you ask what year the model was before you rented it? Kira wrinkled her nose in thought. Yes, I did. I just can't remember what the answer was. Cliff chuckled at her, while the rest of us let out a collective sigh. The RV lurched a little as it picked up speed. You felt something graze the top of your head before a weight settled on your black hair. Or brown hair, excuse us. When you tilted your chin, you carefully looked and heard the rustling of the bag of chips and realized Elizabeth had rested the top of it on your head. She gestured to the opening, silently offering to share her snack. Aw, that's nice of her. Thank you. Reaching up, you scooped up some chips. After the weight of it, the packet left your scalp. You happily munched away as the conversation continued on and you got closer and closer to your destination. The day flew by with the group of you chatting and playing games and passing the time together before finally arriving at the park and setting up for the night. Mom was closing the windows when everyone got ready for bed, saying goodnight to the others as she made her way to the back room. You had all dinner together while driving, and some hours after you had arrived to your destination and found a spot to park for the rest of your stay. Giving a look across the front of the RV, you noticed almost everyone there was already dozing off, with Cove having completely fallen asleep, curled up in the passenger seat. Aww. He must have done so while Kira was driving the last leg, and they had decided not to disturb him. Kira herself was the only one who was still awake, flipping through a magazine next to a portable light from her spot on the couch. It seemed Mr. Holden needed to sleep despite his claims. You followed your moms into the back room and closed the door behind you as you crawled in bed between them. Aww. It was a queen-size bed, so there was enough space for the three of you.
Good night.
Get a good night's sleep, Moeka. We've got a big day ahead of us.
Fantastic.
I'm looking forward to the bushwalk in the morning. It's been a long time since we've been out in nature like this. Oh, there'll be plenty for us to see. Aww. You stayed awake a little longer while your moms whispered about the park and forest in general. With the sound of their voice in the background, eventually you nodded off to sleep. The next morning, you were up bright and early, preparing for the day ahead. I probably would have been really tired, so I slept well. You fell asleep before you knew it and had woken up rested. Ma whined about the firmness of the mattress, but Mom had only encouraged her to enjoy the trip while she could. While looking for a spot to get ready, you had some trouble finding space of your own, as the others were doing the same thing. Cove was perched on top of the counter, brushing his hair and tucking his legs every time somebody wanted to walk past him. The parents were double-checking, and triple-checking that you had everything, to the point where you had stopped listening to them altogether. You knew you wouldn't be returning to the RV all day, but by the look of the backpacks that were packed up and ready to go, you doubted anything would be missing from them. It didn't take much longer until you all exited the RV in a bustle and headed into the Redwood National Park. Wow. Aww, I'm glad he's enjoying the trip, it seems. Also, hello if you're just joining us. Welcome, welcome. Cove had tilted his head a little upward towards the canopy of trees, his eyes wide as he took in a massive trunk on either side of you. You knew the redwood trees were considered the tallest trees on Earth, but you weren't prepared for exactly how huge they would be in person.
Come on.
Smile, you two! You spun just in time for Kira to snap a picture of you and Cove together, before she pointed her camera at Cove, trying to get a shot despite his weak protest that she should just enjoy the moment. Aww. The memories! Your parents are walking behind the group a little, with Mom telling Ma some information that she had read about the park in a brochure. Mom listened happily while looking around and taking in the sights, every now and then asking a question or making a joke about something Mom had said. You smiled at them, thinking your mom must have read a lot of the pamphlets to know so much about the park. Maybe you should come and work here as a tour guide if you know so much about the place. Elizabeth teased, earning a squeeze on the nose from your mom. She seemed to be enjoying herself, but you thought that just might be because she was amused by everyone else's reaction. I don't know, I'm just in a good mood. Everybody seems to be vibing well. You were fascinated by the sensation surrounding you? I'm just in a good mood. The air was fresh and clean, and it was nice to be outdoors with the people you loved most. You were certain that it was only the beginning of what would be a great day. The adults had decided to come on a casual nature walk rather than any serious hiking, and you strolled along at your own pace, taking in the scenery. Elizabeth sped up a little, smirking at Cove as she fell into place between the two of you, and immediately you could tell by her expression she was gonna say something taunting. Oh no. Is she gonna tease us? I can't believe our families are actually on a vacation together. She threw her arms out, speaking with genuine sense of bewilderment. I would have joked about something like this happening, but now I'm not so sure I want to give them any more ideas. Cove spared her a look and said nothing, instead walking along. Just watch, oh no. Just watch, next year they'll be talking about their next new amazing idea. She put on a fake voice deeper than her own. We should just sell both our houses and move in together. Think of how much we'd save on the mortgage. It was clear that Elizabeth was being sarcastic. Cove simply shook his head, not really bothered by her. You suppose he was used to it by now at this point. But seriously, do they really act like we're a single family just because we live across the street from each other? Elizabeth gave you and Cove a look, her eyes glinting with mischief as she leered at you. Maybe one day we'll be related, legally anyway. Why is she being like this? What the heck? She said as though she was a gossipy old lady. Maybe, I guess you and me could get married, Elizabeth.
What?
What? Me? Yeah, the way Moeka... Shut the fuck up! No! Don't say that! Yeah, that way Moeka would be my sister-in-law. That would be fun. Does he like my sister? No. No. I'm being anti-hard. Oh no, dude, this feels bad. Oh, my eyes gotta burn now. Oh my gosh. Elizabeth stuck her tongue out at Cove as if the very idea were ridiculous. Cove has a point. It wasn't a great comment. I'll marry you, Cove. I'm just gonna be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed. If I was like kind of like, I don't know if I like him or not. Like, I don't know. This would make me be in a very weird vibe. I'm in shock. I don't know what to say. I'm embarrassed. Why does she always have to be the one to say things like that? It wasn't fun and she knew it. After no further replies, your sister walked ahead. You and Cove swapped uncomfortable looks. The day continued on with plenty to see and experience. Yeah, feel bad. I hope you feel bad, Cove. That made me feel awful. You passed a few different activities that you would have liked to try out if you had the time, such as kayaking and rock climbing, but Ma said that would have to wait for another trip. There was still a little stream during the... Wait, what? There was a little stream during the walk that you had sat beside and set out for a picnic, nibbling on a selection of fruit, sandwiches, and chips. Various birds flew overhead, and you managed to make a game of guessing what kind of species they were. You managed to get a couple of them right, including the kingfisher that grabbed half a clip sandwich. Oh my god, I need to take a drink after that. Oh my gosh. Oh. Crying. I'm glad we were able to do this in the end. It was definitely a special experience, and you'd remember it for a long day to come. You smiled to yourself, committing the sights and sound to memory. Your group made it back to the camp just as the sun was setting in the sky. Everyone enjoyed different parts of it the most. You traded stories of what you thought You traded stories of what you thought while you were eating dinner. Then afterwards you pitched it to help clean up. What? This seems like a weird, awkward sentence to me. You, along with Elizabeth and Cove, went ahead back to the RV early and spent some time together, while the parents stayed outside longer. It was nice to have the space to yourself after the cramped journey there, and while Elizabeth had locked herself in the back room with her headphones, you and Cove were left in the main lounge area. I'd be kind of mad. Yeah, or not mad, but I think I'd still feel awkward, so I guess I would want to, like, go up to the loft. I'm gonna go up to the loft. If he wants to come hang, he can come grovel and apologize and then hang with me. Head up to the loft to relax on my own. It was your night to sleep there, so you might as well get used to it. You climbed the ladder and headed up the loft, laying back and relaxing after a big day out. Cove stayed down below and spread out on the couch, doing much the same thing. Grabbing your backpack, you passed the time until the adults returned. You got a few levels in on your game that you were currently on before getting stuck on a particular difficult one. The parents all arrived soon after, each of them climbing into the RV and finding some place to sit down. Elizabeth, having heard the commotion, came out from the room for the first time since arriving and joined you all. You spent the evening chatting and playing a few games, enjoying the last of the evening of the trip together. Bedtime arrived within a blink of an eye. As the group hunkered down for the night, your mom did a final round to be sure nothing was left behind. She explained to Cliff that she was... hold on, I need to take a drink. She explained that Cliff was going to start driving early in the morning, like on the first day, but would be letting everyone else in the group sleep. There wouldn't be a need for all of them to get up. Now was the time to check that you hadn't left anything outside. You, as well as everyone else, were confident that you had packed everything inside and rested for the journey home tomorrow. Your mom's Elizabeth said goodnight, heading back to the room while you climbed up to the loft. Cove and his family got situated below in the previously set arrangement. Try to get comfortable as a million thoughts were running through your mind. It was hard to believe that the trip was practically over, and before you knew it, you were back in your own bed at home. Aww. You know, the little mini adventure was fun. It was short, but you got to do and see a lot of things during your time here. All in all, it was a nice break away from home. The minutes ticked by silently. It didn't take long for the soft snores of Cliff and Kira to drift up to you. They would be asleep now. You wondered if Cove would still be awake and decided to poke your head out from the loft to find out. You blinked through the dark. Looking down the hall, you noticed Cove laying on his back, his eyes staring straight up at the ceiling. His seafoam hair was spread out on his sleeping bag. He must have felt you watching him because suddenly, his eyes locked onto yours. It was difficult to see much in the dim light, but you would make out the crooked smile on his face well enough. Aww. He grinned back at him. Cove shrugged in his bed while still smiling, or at least he thought he did. You decided to have fun quietly? What does that mean? I'm gonna go back to trying to go to sleep. I'm still kind of mad at him for I'm still kind of mad at him for even joking about getting with my sister. What the hell? You lay down, shuffling onto your back, looking up at the rivets set in the roof of the RV through the dark. At some point, your eyes grew heavy and you gently drifted off into deep sleep. When you woke up the next morning, it was the rumble of the RV as it traveled the long journey home. Still blinking sleepily, you peeked over the edge of the loft to get a glimpse of what was happening. Cove was sitting with his mom on the couch, the two of them talking quietly. He must have noticed you moving around up there because Cove's ocean blue eye snapped up to you and gave you a smile. Morning, Moeka. Good morning, Cove. Soon your mom and Elizabeth emerged from their room, dressed and ready for the day of travel. You spent most of your day hanging out together in the RV, savoring the last of the few hours of vacation. Kira suggested a few different travel games that she used to play with Cove when he was younger. You all had a great time competing against one another. When the RV finally pulled onto the street, it was well into the night, and you were looking forward to crawling into your own bed after the long days ahead. Everyone else must have been feeling the same because it was mutually agreed that unpacking and cleaning the RV could wait until morning. Once again, at home, you went straight to your room and dropped onto your bed, shoes and all. I'm happy to be back in my own bed. You stretched out with a smile on your face, enjoying having all the space all to yourself. With those last few thoughts drifting through your mind, it wasn't long before you dozed off to sleep. Tomorrow, life would go on like normal. That was nice. Also, these are kind of long. Some of these little stories are long as heck. That was what, like 40-something minutes? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I definitely don't want this VOD to go on for longer than 3 hours, so we're gonna stop here. I hope you enjoyed. I don't know. I'm enjoying this a lot, so we might leave I might leave this VOD in stream section here and move on to the next summer next time. I'm not certain. I'll think about it. But if you're enjoying this, highly suggest that you experience it for yourself and download the game. It's free to play, and if you're interested in more stories, you can buy the DLC. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed your time. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.